Okay, so work placement diary. So there's 7 points that you need to consider in here, okay? So in your page, on page 20, they're like bullet points. You could number them if it makes it easier for you. So that's what I'm going to go through, okay? So the first one, so I'm going to call it number 1. It says, before undertaking your work placement, complete a skills audit. From this audit, draw up an action plan to achieve whilst on placement. Now, you all at the beginning of the course did a personal skills audit where you ticked boxes, and at the end it asked you what strengths and weaknesses was, an action plan, yeah, which we asked you to keep into your portfolio. So you need to look back and find that, because you need to see what your strengths and what your weaknesses were, and have you actually changed. So the first bit is obviously putting in your skills audit. Okay, and check the back page. It's the last page that it had strengths, weaknesses, and then you had to set an action plan with a few bullet points. So that would need to be put into the folder. Then the second bit, number 2, it says complete a daily diary of your work placement, highlighting the range of everyday work-related functions that you experience and your interaction with other members of the staff. So you need to make sure you've got a daily diary. Now, if you do more than one day in a week, then obviously you don't necessarily have to every time you go there. You can merge it and do one for each of those for 1 week. Or if you did the busy periods, then do one for those as well. Okay, so it depends on your work placement and whether you go there, you know, every week or every other or once a month, or you did a block placement. It's you have to base it on your different placements. Okay, so it's asking you for highlight everyday related work. So you've got to talk about your everyday work. You may have set tasks in your shops or in your businesses that you're asked to do. Your interaction with other members of staff. So you can talk about your interaction. Maybe you don't see many people. Maybe you might have lots of staff in your shop, or maybe it might just be you and one other person, so there's not so much interaction, possibly. It says, include in your diary the problem-solving skills you require to handle issues that arise relating to staff. So things like problem-solving, teamwork. So when you're doing your diary, maybe you talk about teamwork. Direction. Work planning, managing customer related services, delivery, design, display, all that sort of stuff. Okay, so you need to know what you do. It says in your daily diary notes, are you given direction by somebody, or do you have to use your own initiative and work out what you need to do? That type of thing. It comes under problem-solving skills. That's what you need to be talking about. Do you have to come over any problems? Are you faced with any problems? Like operational problems as well, like how am I going to get that delivered out? Are you in charge of that? Do I have to make sure that funeral tribute gets there on time, or is that somebody else's role? So it could be operational stuff. It says, using your daily diary notes, write a brief report on how time management skills could be improved for yourself and your team. So you need to do a report. So time management skills. Now, remember, your employers will not see your work placement diaries. Okay, so don't be afraid to write something if you feel maybe your team hasn't got good time management. I mean, I don't know your shops. I'm not sure. Do you find that you're always waiting outside, waiting for the shop to open, possibly? Have you got good time management skills? If you've been told to do something by the end of the day, do you meet that? So that's the sort of things that it's all about: problem solving, interpersonal skills about yourself. Have they developed over your work placement? Okay. You can do your diary using those sheets we've given you, or you can create your own. It's sometimes good to get a bit of feedback from your employer, or you write it, they sign it, that's totally fine as well. Because I know sometimes employers are very, very busy and don't have time to write things. So if you write it, they sign it, that's not a problem, it's good evidence. So is everyone all right about a diary, what your diary needs to involve? Yeah? So very similar to level 2, but additional now on level 3. They're asking you to do a few more things, which may be at the beginning. So number 3, you might want to do as an introduction, possibly, to your workplace. It's asking you to research the range of suppliers, growers, wholesalers available to your work placement. So you need to ask them what their suppliers are. Who do they go to? Do they go to the flower market? Do they buy from Tom Brown's? Do they buy direct from Holland? Yeah, do they go to any growers? Who their wholesalers are? Yeah, so it's something you need to ask them. But you might want to do a little introduction about your shop, what the name is and how many staff are in there, and then what products and services they've got. Okay, so it could be like products, services offered. Yeah, I think it's something like that. 4 on here is saying carry out an operational risk assessment on your business.
Number 5.
Oh, are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. Risk assessment. Yeah. So you got the. You know, you're familiar with the risk assessment table that you did for silk wall hanging design. It's the same risk assessment format. So you use the same sheet. It's got to be about your placement though.
Can we have that electronic thing, please?
Yeah. Okay. So think about all the things within your shop. What type of placement, you know, what type of hazards maybe you might have there. Focusing on daily work practices and any risks to staff and or customers. So don't just, you know, it's not just about behind the scenes, it's also front of house stuff as well, if you've got a front of house shop. Right. Then 5, it says evaluate your work placement experience and personal development. You could actually put the bottom one really together, 5 and 7 together. Okay, so it's an evaluation of placement and personal development. What you also need to look back on is look back at number 1. Okay, the strengths and weaknesses of your skills and things. Look back at the action plan. Maybe in your action plan at the beginning of the course you put on there to build confidence in answering the telephone, possibly. Now, you know, that's quite a lot of months down the line. You've maybe achieved that action plan, that target, and now you're very confident at answering the telephone. So you can say that that's one of your personal developments. You may have found at the beginning you couldn't serve customers, but now you are able to serve customers, possibly. So you need to look back at your strengths and weaknesses here to see whether you've actually developed now. And I'm sure everybody has developed something. If you haven't, that's not, you know, it's not a bad thing. It now means you need to set yourself a new action plan, a new target, which is what number 7 is. Identify and action plan for future development. So you need to then do an action plan for the future. So it could be that you haven't quite had the opportunity to serve customers. So maybe you're going to say in a few months' time I'm going to be able to achieve that, or in a year's time I'm going to achieve that. That's something I want to work on personally for myself. Is that okay? And then the last bit, which what we'll organise, is on 6. It says complete a second skills audit, comparing it to the previous one. So again, they're sort of related really, because 6 is sort of comes from there. So you need to do a second skills audit. Okay, and obviously by completing that, it will help you answer these really. So it's an evaluation of your personal development.
Did you say you were going to?
6, you have to do a second skills audit, which we'll organise.
You're going to give us.
Yeah. So what it's asking you to do is, you've done one in September, you're going to do another one now, which will be the same. You'll compare the two, whether you've actually improved, and then you'll do an evaluation of your development. You may have achieved some of your original actions, and you may not have, and that can go on your future action plan, what you want to achieve for the future. Okay? And that's what the Work Placement Diary Task C1 is. C2 isn't really anything well, it is something you have to do if you're able to, is an employer report, which will be, I understand, in your folders, portfolios, and you have to actually take that to your employer and get them to sign it, that you've done those hours. Okay? So C2 is just the employer report. Now, the employer report is just pass or fail. And I've never had it before. I've never had an employee give a bad report. If you did, okay, it doesn't affect your course. It doesn't affect your overall grades or anything. It's just there to say you've done the hours, okay? Your diary, this section, is pass, merit, distinction, grading. Okay? So we'd need to keep the employer report in there till the end of the course. And then if you wish to take it out or whatever you want to do, that's your decision. It may be nice to get your employers to write a reference if you're able to ask them, because some of you may be moving on now. I don't know what your plans are. Some of you may be employed. Some of you may want to leave your work placement, possibly, or finish and end your work placement. So to get a reference would be really, really good in the industry if you're able to from your employers. And that can be added in there as well. Just ask them, because I know that a lot of employers do that. And I think it's nice to get references. I keep them, so that if you do go on to do different things, at least you've got that there, and you can take them. So is that okay? Has anyone got any questions about the work placement? Does it help a little bit? So you've got to make sure we need to find this. I may have some in the teaching file. I believe they're probably in your portfolios though, so we'll double check that. Then you need to start collecting all photos as well, guys. Make sure you've got lots of photographs. Okay? Photos is your evidence. Photos is what you've done in your placement. You could write loads and loads and loads, but photos is what tells the story more than writing.
The shop is not particularly busy. What do you do?
You still write what you've done, and I'm sure you're not standing there all day.
Photograph.
things that you've made, had the opportunity to make in the
But
plan.
not every day you're making.
No, but you'll have some, I'm sure, for busy periods. Yeah, yeah,
The shop's not doing very well.
yeah.
Doesn't it? A lot of customers. They probably.
But if you was there at Christmas or
Yeah.
Mother's Day or Valentine's and you've got those pictures,
Well, Christmas is very full for her.
yeah. So if you've got photos, so you need to start, I'm hoping most of you were very organised and did your diaries as you went along. Yeah? If you haven't, then you need to put them all together. Okay? So think of your diary, think of time management here. Yeah, personal to that. Then do an introduction to your workplace, and this is sort of setting the scene of your workplace. What type of business is it? Is it a unit in a warehouse? Is it a suburban flower shop? Is it a design lumber shop? Risk assessment. Now, obviously, be careful. If you're going to go into your work placement with a risk assessment template, let them know what you're doing and what it's for, because you don't want to upset your employers if you're going around doing health and safety checks. That's not going to go down very well. So always let them know. They'll be happy, but it's just for your coursework. You need to let them know. If you can think in your mind when you're at home the hazards in your placement, then do your table at home. And just take a visual observation when you're in your shop, or a cheeky photo maybe. But don't go around sort of saying, you should sort that crack out on that floor. That electric is terrible, yeah, because I'm not sure if your employees are going to be happy with that. So go in a bit more diplomatic with a risk assessment. Okay? And then do this really, 6 in the end bit, the end chunk is just a really good evaluation about your placement. Remember, level 3, you should be going in as a senior florist or potentially a manager as your next step. That's the sort of jobs you can apply for. So you've got to go in with that head of a senior florist head. You're not a junior, you're not a trainee. Okay, you're a senior florist. You've got more responsibilities now. Okay?
It's too much.
Too scary, too much pressure. It's good. Pressure's good, darling. Yeah? Maybe you're, I don't know, does anyone have in charge of the shops or key holders, opens up? Yeah? Yeah, possibly. Again, that's a big step, to be given a set of keys and say, right, Amanda, can you go and open the shop for me today? Yeah, and you'll be like, but, you know, it's good practice to do it. So this is your next step now. I mean, I'm not sure what some of your plans are from leaving this course in 6 weeks' time. What you're going to do.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Doors will open for you, but you've got to want it and you've got to work for it. It's not going to knock on your door and say, here's a job or here's an opportunity. You've got to go out and work for it, okay? So this is what this is all about. What you may, you know, and you can be harsh to yourself. I know I've got my faults, and I know there's things I need to work on and improve on, and that's what I'm doing for the future of my career. So, you know, you may have a say.